their unbeaten start to the season. And in League Two terms, it's a relatively short trip to the JobServe Community Stadium. And the O's face Colchester United this afternoon as we look to get back to winning ways following Tuesday's draw with Swindon Town. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined in the E10 studio this afternoon by Jabbo Abire and Brendan Pitcher. And it's a fairly exciting one today, Brendan. Looking hopefully to pick up another 3 points. Tuesday was a good performance, but the win would be nice.
Yeah, I think it's been said by a lot of people that Tuesday was ironically our best performance, certainly going forward of the season, despite the fact we didn't win the game. So if we can kind of marry those two things together in terms of our attacking play against Swindon, certainly after we scored that rest of the first half, we were electric. And if we can marry that with some of our kind of defensive play after we went up against Mansfield and up against Grimsby and up against Crawley, where we really kind of saw the game out with some really good defensive play, I think that will be a good combination and hopefully should see us pick up the win today against Colchester. And
remaining unbeaten must be on everyone's mind. You obviously don't want to lose, but how big a part will that play of trying to have a good start to the season and losing until as late as possible?
Yeah, I mean, you just want to keep going, and as the games go on, you keep chalking off the points and keep being unbeaten. You just want to keep it going, so you're just going to be like, we're here to win, we're not going to lose, and you just keep chalking off the games, and ultimately you just want it to last as long as it can possibly can.
Well, hopefully we might even see the first ever League Two team to do it as Invincibles, but we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit there. But let's take a look at the boys in gold this afternoon as the O's do look to maintain their unbeaten start to the season. So as always, in goal, the solid number 22, Lawrence Vigouroux. Number 2 in at right back is Tom James, and returning to the side is number 5, Dan Happy, who replaces Shad Oji following Tuesday's game. 7, Paul Smith is in attack, joined by number 11, Theo Archibald, with number 14, George Moncur in the middle, alongside number 15, Idris El Mazouni, and the captain, number 18, Darren Pratley. Joining Dan Happy at the back is number 19, Omar Beckles. Number 23, Charlie Kelman leads the attack, and number 32, Rob Hunt, is the final man in that back four. And on the bench for the O, Sam Sargent, Shadrach Oji, Adam Thompson, Harry Smith, Ruel Satiriou, Jordan Brown, and Jaden Sweeney. And there's obviously the Orient pitch looking as beautiful as ever, but it's just the one change. And are you surprised by the change, Brendan?
Not necessarily. I think Dan Happy has proven that we've kept clean sheets in every game that he started. I think he's proven to Richie that he's probably the first choice on that left-sided centre-back spot. I think Shad did okay on against Swindon, but I think it's a case of Dan Happy came out because, like Richie said in his post-match after the Swindon game, that he's just come back from injury. He's played a lot of games. It's probably a bit too soon for him to be playing 3 games in a week, so it's just a case of bringing him back in now that he's had a rest on Tuesday night.
Omar Beckles and Dan Happy haven't conceded a goal in the league while playing together at the back. It's obviously Shad did a job on Tuesday, but it's good to see what looks like Richie's starting centre-back pairing. Yeah,
I mean, it's great, and it's great to utilise the squad, so having Shad there to come in, and he done okay on Tuesday, but the pairing of Happy and Beckles have just proven so far this season it's been solid. They've not conceded a goal all season, so you'd like to kind of just see that partnership blossom and keep going. So I'm happy that Happy's back.
And I feel like we've been speaking about him a lot, but they say not to fall in love with loan players, but that's happening quite quickly with Idris El Mazouni. He was special on Tuesday night, and he really is winning the hearts of a lot of O's fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a player that I think it was the missing link of this team. I think Richie Wellens was very vocal over the summer of the fact he wanted that number 4, that defensive midfielder, and it looks like he's got him now in Idris El Mazouni. I think the fact that he came in against Mansfield and did so well, despite only having 1 day of training, and then he wouldn't have had a lot more time on the training ground to go into that Swindon game, where again I thought he was excellent. I think he has that great all-round ability in terms of he puts his foot in, he wins a lot of tackles, but he's just so good on the ball and so composed as well. Just looks like a real excellent player for the level.
Could have been sent off on Tuesday night. I think a lot of Orient fans had their hearts in their mouths. He dove into a tackle. He's been booked in both games. Is that maybe something got to be a little bit wary of? But it is his game, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the one thing that the one minor grievance you've had with his first 2 games so far, in that he's picked up 2 bookings and he perhaps could have been sent off against Swindon. But I think, like you say, that's part of his game. He puts his foot in so much, he wins so many tackles that he will miss time a few, and it's just a case of maybe refining it a little bit. I think hopefully Richie and Paul Terry, they're both central midfielders themselves in their career, so they'll be probably trying to look at that and say maybe pick and choose your moments and maybe not go diving in, and if he can just get rid of those maybe lapse moments where he gets a yellow card, then he could be a perfect player for us.
Brendan's called him the missing piece of that midfield, and obviously we are waiting for it still to really click. We speak about George Moncur a lot as well. He had 4 shots on Tuesday night. He's one, yes, he got a penalty on the opening day, but he's one that you feel is just starting to warm up, and hopefully when he clicks, that midfield will be really dangerous. Yeah,
you can see him definitely bubbling. I mean, his performance on Tuesday I thought was really promising. I thought he really done well, and it was nice to see him just drive with the ball, really showing the fans what he's really about. And you know, the more he keeps shooting and he's getting closer and closer with each shot, as the games come, I think he'll start those shots will turn into goals.
Because he didn't play much football for the last season, really coming from a hole. It wasn't really working for him there. How long do you think it will be until we start seeing the best of George?
I mean, well, if we go from Tuesday's game, hopefully today will be another step in the right direction, and hopefully it won't be too long, you know, because sometimes when you haven't played for a large period of time, you have to find the patterns on the pitch again. You have to see the things, and as he plays more, as he gets his fitness up, those will come back to him like a bad habit, and then he will suddenly be firing. And
more so than even just his gameplay, his character seems to be really effective around the place. You see just from some of the stuff on social media, he seems to be a really key character this squad.
Yeah, that's the thing with George. He's got such an infectious character that, you know, it ain't just he's got fantastic footballing ability that we're beginning to see, but it's just what he's like in the dressing room. He's so funny. He's a joker. You know, he talks to everyone, brings everyone together, and is a great lad to have around. So, and when you're going for things and you're really challenging for like promotion or something high at the top of the league, you need a good dressing room, and someone like him is a good catalyst in there.
Absolutely, and Darren Prattley obviously finishes off that midfield 3, and it's one that we're seeing maybe starting to cement as that starting 3 week in, week out. And how key is Darren Prattley to that? His energy for a 37-year-old is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just one thing to mention is probably that Craig Clay isn't on the bench today. We might have anticipated seeing him after what Richie said over the last week or so, but probably hasn't just made it, and he'd be the one that's knocking on the door of that midfield trio. But like you say, I think there's a really good balance between El Mazouni as the more defensive-minded one. Darren Prattley is the leader in there. He puts himself about and gets up and down the pitch really well. And then George Moncur is the one that unlocks the door. He's a number 10. He's a creative player in there. But yeah, like you say, Darren Prattley, just a wonderful professional at his age to keep going. And we saw it with Joby McAnuff in terms of it's really good to have that positive influence, someone that's played at a higher level and just come into that stage of their career where they can really impart some of their wisdom on and off the pitch for this team.
And someone who's gone slightly under the radar, Brendan, is Rob Hunt. He's started ever since he's come in. He hasn't really lost his spot, got injured a little bit, but he's one that you've singled out as maybe he isn't getting as much praise as he should do. Maybe we'll see some clips from him on screen now. And what have you made of his start in an Orient shirt?
Yeah, definitely. It must have been tough for him because he hadn't had a pre-season. He joined literally just before the season started, so he wouldn't have had much time to get up to speed. And despite that, he's played every minute of every game. So it shows that Richie clearly has faith in him. He's worked with him before at both Oldham and Swindon, and for him to also be playing left back when he is naturally right-footed. I know he's obviously very good on either foot, but again, it shows that he is Richie Wellens' man. He's someone that he knows he can trust, and from these clips you're just seeing, he's just a very solid, dependable player. And another one, like we've said about people like George Moncur and people like that, is only going to get better the more they get kind of up to speed and adjusted to this team.
Well, hopefully he will be keeping another clean sheet this afternoon. It's now time to hear from managers Richie Wellens' thoughts ahead of this afternoon's game.
So Gaff, on to Colchester United this Saturday, but first of all, just looking back on Tuesday again, I'm sure there's some signs of real progress there.
Some signs of real progress, but then when you watch the video back, we've got so much more improvement in us again, which is a really pleasing sign. I looked at us live while the game was going on. I thought we looked a really good team, full of pace, good football, good intensity. Our pressing was superb, but in possession we can get so much better, which will allow us to have one more possession, 2 more chances, and obviously the ultimate goal is 3 more goals and better results. So really happy with the performance, but there's so much more improvement in us, which is a really good sign.
Be a tough game at Colchester on Saturday, especially they'll be buoyed by the fact they had a big win over Bradford midweek.
Yeah, Wayne's someone who I've played with before, so if know him as a character and as a player, if his teams resonate the way that he played, he'll have that never say die attitude. So it doesn't surprise me that they score late on. So I'm not saying it's a difficult game. It's a local derby. If a local derby can be so far away, but it is kind of. So no, expecting a tough game. Colchester over the years have been really good at this level, especially under John McGreal. Changed a little bit in the way that they play. But again, if we want to concentrate on us, if we're at it, then we'll cause a lot of teams problems.
Looking back on Tuesday and with Saturday in mind, what more do you need to get right, I guess, to find that finishing touch?
From Tuesday, score. It's quite simple. We run into a goalkeeper from Charlie Kelman's header, which is a great save, and then he made a save at the end from Omar Beckles where he hit his foot, but he didn't know anything about it. And in the rebound, maybe Ruel can hit the target, but I think it was deflected. Sometimes you need a bit of luck, We've got players at the top end of the pitch that when they get in positions, we see it in training every day, really, really good finishes. So just about repetition, keep getting in the right positions, keep hitting a target, and if we keep doing that, we'll score goals.
Top stuff there from Richie, and if we look at the start to the season, he can't really have many complaints. He'd probably still want his 100% record to be intact, but as far as starts to the seasons go, he's pretty buzzing.
Yeah, he's nailed it. The team's nailed it so far, and it just brings great confidence. You can go into every game, buzzing, full of confidence. Your back's up, your chest out, and other teams will start. As the games continue, other teams will start thinking, "Oh, we're playing these lot," and you've already got a mental advantage. So just have to keep it going. But I mean, they would have took that at the start of the season, of course.
Now, I don't know if you can remember back to 2013, but we played Colchester away about 5 games in that season where we reached the playoffs. I think you actually scored, but we won 2-1, and there was that character that we showed, and that I remember that point of the season being quite a key one to the success, well, the nearly success we had that season. Do you remember anything from that day?
No, but the thing is, when you like play against a team that you've been at before, you always want to get one on them. Like, as much as I love Orient, but that day I was like, yeah, come on, I want to put a number on them. And then it was just a mistake, I remember. And then you've gone and scored. You said Orient at Leeds, right? I'm sure you
I
went
think
1-0
it was
up.
2-1. If I remember
Yeah, you finished 2-1, but you went 1-0 up.
Yeah.
And then
Kevin Lisby late on.
And then I think I scored the equaliser, and then Lisby went and scored. I was like, oh man! And then always get it from Orient supporters if they beat us. So, but then I think we might have been going all right as well. But it is a pinnacle moment, because sometimes when you lose your first game, or it's a rival team, because you're quite close in terms of geographical locations, it just leaves something on you. And we went that way. Orient just went bang, and it didn't look back. Didn't look back. So I mean, there's always like a bit of rivalry there, and I think this game is important in that sense, and it could catapult them even more.
Well, it is a Colchester side that is standing in our way as the O's look to maintain their unbeaten start to the season. And let's take a look at the starting lineup for the U's this afternoon. So in goal for Colchester, number 1, Sam Hornby. Number 4, and their captain, Luke Chambers. Number 7, Luke Hannant. Number 11, Freddie Sears. 14, Noah Chilvers. Number 18, Tom Eastman. 19, Alex Newby. 27, Cameron Cox. Number 30, Al Amin Kazim. Number 33, Marley Marshall Miranda. What a name there. And ex-Orient loanee, number 45, Frank Nubley. And on the bench for Colchester this afternoon, Kieran O'Hara, Ryan Clampin, Tom Dallison, Cole Scoose, Junior Shamedu, John Akinde, and Samson Tavide. Now, they are probably our most local team, but that's just the way League Two is this season. It's very north. It always seems to be a tricky game against Colchester.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're a side that, I think for me, even in its early stages, I've seen signs that they're a side that probably will get up for the big occasion. And you say Orient coming to town with over 1,000 following fans is probably a big occasion for them. I think if you look at their results so far this season, they've gone to Ipswich in the Carabao Cup and won 1-0. And on Tuesday night, they hosted Bradford and won that game 1-0. So it shows that when required, they're going to be right up for it and can nab a result, even though perhaps many might not think they might be in and around it this season.
And we're seeing there the boys warming up, Jabbo. The O's in the background there as well have sold out their away allocation. Now, as a fan, it's always felt strange going to the stadium. It always feels half empty. I don't know. How does it feel playing at the place?
Even as a player, when you walk out and you see sort of like a stand just empty, it doesn't feel like... There's an atmosphere, doesn't feel like you're actually at a game. Sometimes it feels like a reserve game. But they do, once you get the crowd, like obviously when I was a Colchester player, once the crowd get going, they do get loud and the atmosphere is created. But when you walk out as a player and you see it a bit empty at times, you're a little bit like, oh, man. But they do try though, they do get it going.
And you spoke about whenever you come up against a team, you always wanted to do well if you've played for them in the past.
Yeah.
I think that might be the case for Frank Nouble today. He didn't have the greatest career in an Orient shirt, but we know what he's capable of.
It definitely gives you something for sure, and you know he probably want to show everyone what he was capable, that he didn't really transpire here during his loan period. But I mean, he is a threat. On his day, he's a handful. So hopefully, well, not hopefully, but for him, he might want to show that today.
Hopefully, he doesn't. And you've picked out in terms of threat, Noah Chilvers, Brendan. He's scored a few already this season. Is he one that we need to watch out for?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of follows a tradition with Colchester where they always seem to have one or two coming out of their academy who are just really good players. I think people like Sammy Smodix has gone on to play the Championship, and even George Moncur, who perhaps didn't start his career at Colchester but had his best spell and breakout spell at Colchester. So yeah, Noah Chilvers is again in that mould. He's number 10, kind of breaks in between the lines, just a really good technical player. I think he's only 19 or 20 years of age, and he's been a key man for them at the back end of last season and so far this season. I think he's chipped in with a couple of goals and assists. So as we're seeing from the clips here, he's a player with a lot of talent, and certainly for me, he's the one that Orient will need to keep an eye on today.
I mean, we saw in that clip a couple goals go as well. Frank Nouble looking dangerous as well, setting him up, and just going back to him and them two in attack, they can be a real handful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got that three there of Noah Chilvers will play as a number 10, Frank Nouble and Freddie Sears will go up top. There's a lot of kind of mobility there. I think they'll try and break on the counter-attack. We're seeing from here, this is what Chilvers is capable of. He took the ball from his own half there and run the length of the field and finished it. So he's a player that I know a lot of people around the EFL, not just in Colchester, are getting excited about as perhaps one to watch and one that could probably make the step up. So yeah, definitely one for Orient to look out for today.
Freddie Sears, I was going to say young Freddie Sears, but he does actually probably been about for a lot of years now. But Freddie Sears is always a danger man as well, isn't he? Yeah,
especially at this level, you can't take your eye off him at times, because he could be having a quiet game and all of a sudden he just produces a moment of brilliance, and he can score a spectacular goal. But he's very experienced now in this league. He hasn't scored as many as he probably would have liked, because I remember playing with him. He's always had targets. He's always hungry for his goals. But yeah, he's experienced. He knows the league, so you have to give him the respect.
And some more experience in that lineup as well. Tom Eastman, I feel like he's played at Colchester for as long as I've been on this planet. He's some key experience for them. Yeah.
Tom Easton's solid. A really good guy. Really just so laid back and chilled. But again, he's been when I was there, I think he was just coming through as a youngster, maybe the previous season, and he's just been a great servant for them. Really cool guy, and he's very experienced now. Now he's one of the older ones, I'd imagine, and trying to sort of like help the team and embed the youngsters coming through. But he knows the league. He's steady, lacks a bit of pace, but in the air he's good, and I think we can exploit that today.
I was going to say, where do you think we could get in behind this Colchester defence? You've got Tom, he's experienced, but if you look at the attackers we've got, where do you think we can cause them danger? Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting test, because I expect Colchester perhaps maybe to sit a little bit deeper. I think they're a team, like I've said, who in the big occasions it's tight games, but they end up winning 1-0. So I think it's a case of they'll try and keep it tight, and it's just about us being patient, picking our moments, not everyone rushing forward. And it could be a case of just someone like George Moncur with that ability to kind of just pick a pass or get a shot away under pressure.
Well, of course, don't forget, if you're watching along on our YouTube channel, this game is available to stream for international fans. You just need to head over to the Orient website to pick up your streaming pass. The website's on the screen now. UK fans, you can pick up an audio pass to listen along with Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock as well. And also, just to remind you, Orient Live, the warm-up will be returning this Wednesday live on our Twitter space at 6 o'clock. So make sure you join us for that one at LOFC Live. And it'll be available to listen back to on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can get the thoughts from our special guests and the Orient Live team. But now it's time to hear the thoughts of Darren Pratley ahead of this afternoon's match.
Pratt's obviously a good start to the season, unbeaten so far, and I think looking back at Tuesday, it could maybe have been 3 points there as well.
Yeah, we just watched the game back this morning and analysed it. Stuff we done well, stuff we didn't do too well. And I think on the whole, the chances we had, we should have won the game. But it just goes to show we're going to a top team like Swindon, and we're a little bit disappointed only coming away with a point. So it shows how far we've come in a short space of time.
I think before the game, some of the focus is about maybe the performances haven't been quite right, but I think Tuesday night seemed like probably the most kind of complete performance.
Yeah, in terms of on the ball passing, our patterns that we work on was better. I think the games with Grimsby, Crawley and that we've been more solid, hard to beat. We had to dig out a result, but you need that both sides. Sometimes it's not always going to be pretty. It's been hot lately. We had a little bit of rain for Swindon, which made the pitch a bit more zippy, and we got the front four into good positions where they could attack and create a lot of opportunities.
Talk about some new arrivals for the season.
Yeah.
Idris Elmazuni's come in from Ipswich. He had, I think, 1 day's training and had that performance against Mansfield, and then Tuesday he looked pretty good as well. So what have you made of him?
Brilliant. I think I've seen a lot of young players through my career. I think he was 21, 22. I think he'll play at the top. If you can carry it on, you have to be consistent. Obviously, he's only played 2 games, but if you can keep that level and keep improving, keep learning, I think he's got the perfect manager, the way he wants to play and the system that we play for him to go on. But a bit shocked from what I've seen at the moment that he can't get into Ipswich team, so they must have very good midfielders there if he can't get a game there. But I like him, like his mentality. I like what he does on the ball, but also what he does off the ball as well. I think he's a real good player, and fair play to the manager and the recruitment staff who brought him in.
On to Colchester now, a team that had a really good result midweek, a 1-0 win against Bradford, 97th minute, so they'll be pretty buoyant, looking forward to welcoming the O's in a bit of a local derby, and should be a good game. Yeah,
I think it was last year. I think it for the wrong end of the table, 6-pointer I think going into that game. Obviously we know Frank there who come here. I think he done well the other day when he was playing. I see the highlights. But yeah, it'd be a tough game. End of a 3-week period, and if we can pick up a win, it'd be good for us going into a little break. We ain't got a game on Tuesday, so I think we've got a good crowd going. Localish derby, if you like. So everyone's fit, ready to go, and hopefully we can get a good result.
Just over 5 minutes now until kick-off, and the O's looking to maintain their unbeaten start to the season. Let's remind ourselves of how the O's line up this afternoon. So in goal, number 22, Lawrence Vigouroux. In at right back, number 2, Tom James. And alongside him, the first centre-back, number 5, Dan Happy. And he's the one change from Tuesday night as he replaces Shad Oji. Number 7, he got off the mark on Tuesday night, is Paul Smith. 11, Theo Archibald. And then the midfield 3 there, number 14, George Moncur. 15, Idris Elmazuni. And wearing the armband, number 18, Darren Pratley. Partnering Dan Happy at the back, number 19, Omar Beckles. And leading the line, number 23, Charlie Kelman. And slotting in at left back is number 32, Rob Hunt. And on the bench for the O's this afternoon, Sam Sargent, Shad Oji, Adam Thompson, Harry Smith, Ruel Satiriou, Jordan Brown and Jaden Sweeney. So there is how the O's line up, wearing that black and gold kit this afternoon. You haven't really paid too much attention yet today to the attacking lineup. Paul Smith got off the mark on Tuesday night. Charlie Kelman got off the mark against Mansfield. Still waiting for Theo Archibald to get involved. But, you know, we spoke about it on Tuesday night as well, Jabbo. We want to see them all getting in with some goals and assists, don't we?
Yeah. And, you know, Tuesday night was one of the, for me so far, the best attacking display I've seen. And, you know, they're looking dangerous, looking a threat every time they go forward. And as I said, as I keep saying, as the games continue, they will get sharper and stronger. And I'm sure Theo will start getting in the mix.
We became quite free scoring when Richie came in. Last season, we were scoring a lot of goals and some really great ones as well. Maybe haven't been as free scoring so far this season, still getting the points, of course, but do you feel as though maybe it hasn't clicked just yet and it could do soon?
Yeah, I think it almost clicked very well on Tuesday night. I think we're pretty unfortunate that we weren't 2 or 3 goals up at half time. So I think it is clicking. I think it is a case of you've got people like Charlie Kelman starting up front who, again, like I was saying about Rob Hunt, only joined before after pre-season. So there's very little time to gel and work on things there. So I think it's about players getting to know each other's games. George Moncur, for me, is just the key one. I think once he really hits his stride, we could be an absolute force in this division. And I expect him, hopefully, to have a big game today.
Let's look at Charlie Kelman as well. He took his goal well against Mansfield. Some might call it a smash and grab, but he took his goal well. It was a well-worked goal with Idris as well. He's different to the other players we've got in the side, Brendan. But what do you think he could bring to this side when he really hits the ground running?
I think it's the finishing ability from everything I've heard. I think he seems like the most natural finisher, perhaps, of the 3 striking options we have. I think everything you hear about him from QPR, he was a really good finisher at that level, even in the limited time he was there. And even at Orient so far, I think you've heard rumours about him being very, very sharp in training. So, yeah, I think as we saw against Mansfield, he's going to be that type of player that you might not see a lot of him throughout the game, but if he gets a chance, he's going to take it.
Well, the players are making their way out on the pitch at the JobServe Community Stadium. So it's time to head up the A12 and hand over to Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
Good afternoon, welcome to the Community Stadium. A tremendous travelling support behind the O's, looking for Richie Wellens' side to maintain their very impressive start to the season. Whilst Colchester United in this campaign, they have delivered on the big occasion. They've already beaten their neighbours Ipswich Town in the League Cup at Portman Road on Tuesday night against Bradford City. A 97th minute winner secured their maximum points for the first